The Aetherian Plea. The crystalline spires of Aetheria Prime glittered in the light of its twin suns, a sight that had once inspired awe in visitors from across the galaxy. Now, those same spires trembled under the onslaught of Vorax warships, their iridescent surfaces marred by scorch marks and debris. In the central command chamber of the capital city, First Speaker Zilith addressed the Galactic Council's holographic representatives. Her luminescent skin, usually a calming blue, now pulsed with anxious purple hues. Esteemed members of the council, Zilith's melodic voice wavered. I come before you once again to plead for aid. The Vorax Imperium grows bolder by the day. Our outer colonies have fallen, and now they threaten our homeworld. We are a peaceful people. We cannot hope to stand against them alone. The chamber fell silent. The holograms of various alien species flickered, their expressions a mix of pity and discomfort. Finally, a corpulent being with multiple eye stalks spoke up. First Speaker Zilith. The Gordaxian representative's voice oozed false sympathy. While we empathize with your plight, the Aetherian situation poses too great a risk. The Vorax Imperium has made it clear that any interference will be seen as an act of war. We cannot jeopardize the safety of our own people. One by one, the other representatives echoed similar sentiments. Promises of diplomatic pressure, economic sanctions, anything but direct intervention. Zilith's bioluminescence dimmed with each rejection. As the last hologram winked out, leaving only the Aetherian leadership in the chamber, a young aide approached Zilith. First Speaker, he whispered, there is one more option. Zilith turned, her antenna twitching with curiosity. Speak, Nexel. Any hope, no matter how small, is welcome now. Nexel hesitated, then continued. There's a species, relatively new to the galactic stage. They call themselves humans. They're not part of the Council yet, but our long-range communications array could reach them. Humans, Zilith echoed, the word foreign on her tongue. What do we know of them? An elder Aetherian scoffed. A primitive species, barely able to reach their own star system's edge. What could they possibly offer? Nexel stood his ground. They're resourceful, adaptable, and more importantly, they're not bound by the Council's politics. It's a long shot, but Zilith raised a hand, silencing the murmurs in the room. At this point, Nexel, a long shot is better than no shot at all. Prepare the transmission. Let us hope these humans are as intriguing as you suggest. As Nexel hurried to the communications array, the chamber shook from another Vorax bombardment. Zilith gazed out at her besieged world, wondering if this desperate plea would be Aetheria's last hope. Millions of light-years away, on a blue-green planet called Earth, a message began to ping across outdated servers and neglected communication channels. In a nondescript government building, a lone technician's eyes widened as she deciphered the alien distress call. Sir, she called out, her voice trembling with excitement and fear. I think you need to see this. As news of the Aetherian plea spread through the halls of power on Earth, humans from all walks of life found themselves faced with an unprecedented question. Would they be the ones to answer the call that the rest of the galaxy had ignored? In the Oval Office, the President of the United States sat surrounded by his top advisors, military brass, and scientists. The room buzzed with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. Let me get this straight, the President said, leaning forward in his chair. An alien race we've never met before is asking for our help against an interstellar empire, and the rest of the galactic community is sitting on their hands. The Secretary of Defense nodded grimly. That's the long and short of it, Mr. President. The Aetherians are in dire straits, and we're their last hope. A murmur ran through the room. The Chief of Staff cleared his throat. Sir, with all due respect, are we even capable of offering meaningful assistance? Our space fleet is designed for exploration, not warfare. The room fell silent as all eyes turned to Dr. Elena Rodriguez, the head of Earth's fledgling interstellar program. She stood, her eyes gleaming with determination. "Mr. President, distinguished colleagues," she began, her voice steady, "it's true that our technology isn't on par with what we're hearing about this Vorax Imperium. But that doesn't mean we're helpless." She tapped a few commands on her tablet, and a holographic display sprang to life in the center of the room, showcasing Earth's available spacecraft and weaponry. "We've been preparing for first contact for decades. Our ships may not be the fastest or the most heavily armed, but they're versatile. And more importantly, we have something that neither the Vorax nor the Aetherians seem to have, the element of surprise." The president leaned back, a thoughtful expression on his face. "Elaborate, Doctor." Dr. Rodriguez's fingers flew across her tablet, and the holographic display shifted to show various tactical simulations. "The Vorax won't be expecting us. They've never encountered human military doctrine or technology. We can use that to our advantage. Plus, our history is filled with examples of technologically inferior forces defeating superior ones through strategy and sheer determination." The Secretary of State spoke up. "But what about the diplomatic ramifications? We'd be going against the wishes of the entire Galactic Council." The president stood, silencing the room. He walked to the window, gazing out at the Washington Monument in the distance. After a long moment, he turned back to face the group. "Ladies and gentlemen, we stand at a crossroads of history. Not just our history, but that of the entire galaxy. We've dreamed of this moment, of reaching out to the stars, of making contact with alien civilizations, but we never imagined our first major interaction would be like this." He paused, his eyes sweeping across the room. "We have a choice to make. We can stay here, safe in our cosmic backyard, and watch as a peaceful species is annihilated. Or we can step up, extend a helping hand across the stars, and show the galaxy what humanity is made of." The room was silent, hanging on his every word. "I say we answer the call. Not because it's easy, but because it's right. Because if we turn our backs on the Aetherians now, we betray everything we stand for as a species. Dr. Rodriguez, you have my authorization. Mobilize everything we've got. Let's show the galaxy that humanity is a force to be reckoned with." As the room erupted into a flurry of activity, orders being shouted and plans being made, a sense of purpose filled the air. Humanity was about to make its grand entrance onto the galactic stage, and the universe would never be the same. Humanity's response. The next few weeks saw Earth transformed into a hive of frenzied activity. Military bases around the world buzzed with preparations, shipyards worked around the clock, and volunteers from every nation stepped forward to join what was being called the Aetherian Expedition Force. At Cape Canaveral, now the central hub of Earth's interstellar fleet, Captain Sarah Chen stood before the assembled crews. Behind her loomed the impressive silhouettes of humanity's finest spacecraft, a motley assortment of vessels ranging from repurposed exploration ships to hastily weaponized cargo haulers. "Men and women of Earth," Sarah's voice rang out, amplified across the launch pad. "In a few hours, we embark on the most important mission in human history. We go not as conquerors, not as saviors, but as allies to a people in need." The Aetherians called out into the darkness of space, and we answered. Now we must prove that their trust in us was not misplaced. She paused, looking out at the sea of faces before her. They were a diverse group, seasoned astronauts, brilliant scientists, hardened soldiers, and everything in between, all united by a common purpose. "I won't lie to you," Sarah continued, her tone growing serious. "The odds are stacked against us. We're outnumbered, outgunned, and venturing into unknown territory. But throughout our history, humanity has faced impossible odds and triumphed. We've climbed the highest mountains, plumbed the ocean depths, and now we reach for the stars. The Vorax may have superior technology, but they've never faced anything like us before." A cheer went up from the crowd, a sound of determination and hope that echoed across the launch pad. "Remember your training. Trust in each other, and never forget what we're fighting for. The eyes of Earth, and indeed, the entire galaxy, are upon us. Let's make them proud. To your stations, and Godspeed." As the crews dispersed to their respective ships, Sarah felt a hand on her shoulder. She turned to see Dr. Rodriguez, her eyes shining with a mixture of pride and concern. "Quite the speech, Captain," Elena said with a smile. "How are you feeling?" Sarah took a deep breath, gazing up at the ship that would be her home for the foreseeable future, the UES Horizon, Earth's flagship. Nervous, excited, terrified. Take your pick. But mostly, I feel ready. We've prepared as much as we can. Now it's time to act. Elena nodded, her expression turning serious. "I have something for you." She handed Sarah a small metallic object. "It's a quantum entanglement communicator. It'll allow you to maintain real-time communication with Earth, no matter how far you travel. Use it wisely." Sarah pocketed the device, understanding its significance. "Thank you, Elena, for everything." As the two women embraced, a klaxon sounded, signaling the final boarding call. Sarah straightened her uniform and turned towards her ship. "See you on the other side, Doc." Hours later, the night sky above Cape Canaveral lit up as, one by one, Earth's interstellar fleet lifted off. The Horizon led the way, its powerful engines leaving a trail of blue flame as it punched through the atmosphere. As the fleet assembled in Earth's orbit, preparing for the jump to faster-than-light travel, Captain Chen's voice crackled over the comms. "All ships, sound off. UES Defender, ready. UES Artemis, standing by. UES Pathfinder, good to go." One by one, each ship reported in. Sarah took a moment to appreciate the view. Earth, a beautiful blue marble, hung below them. For many, it might be the last time they saw their homeworld. "All right, people," Sarah said, her voice steady. "Let's make history. Initiate FTL jump on my mark. 3, 2, 1, mark." In a brilliant flash of light, the human fleet disappeared, leaving behind a stunned silence and a planet holding its collective breath. The journey to Etherian space was long and fraught with tension. Every crew member knew that each passing moment brought them closer to a conflict unlike anything humanity had ever faced. But it also brought moments of wonder and discovery. As they traveled, the fleet encountered phenomena that had only been theorized about on Earth: gravitational anomalies that bent space-time, nebula that sparkled with unknown elements, and the haunting beauty of binary star systems. Sarah spent much of her time on the Horizon's bridge, poring over the scant information they had about the Vorax and the Aetherians. The more she learned, the more she realized how little they truly knew. Captain, her XO, Commander Raj Patel, called out one day, "We're picking up some strange readings. It looks like a ship graveyard." Sarah moved to the view screen, her breath catching in her throat. Floating before them was a vast field of debris, the remnants of what must have been a fierce battle. Aetherian ships, their crystalline structures now shattered, drifted alongside the hulking metal carcasses of Vorax warships. "All stop," Sarah ordered, her voice barely above a whisper. "Launch probes. I want to know what happened here." As the probes scanned the debris field, the crew of the Horizon watched in somber silence. This was their first tangible evidence of the conflict they were about to enter. "Captain," the science officer reported, "we're detecting faint life signs. There's an Aetherian escape pod out there, still intact." Sarah's decision was immediate. Prepare a rescue team. Let's show the Aetherians that their call for help didn't go unanswered. Hours later, in the Horizon's medical bay, Sarah stood before the rescued Aetherian. The alien's bioluminescent skin pulsed weakly, its crystalline features dulled by exhaustion and fear. "I am Captain Sarah Chen of Earth," she said softly, hoping the universal translator was working correctly. "We've come to help." The Aetherian's eyes, multifaceted like a dragonfly's, widened in surprise. "Earth, you heard our call." Sarah nodded, a small smile on her face. "We did, and we're here to fight alongside you." For the first time since the rescue, the Aetherian's skin brightened, pulsing with a warm, hopeful glow. Then perhaps all is not lost. As Sarah left the medical bay, her resolve strengthened. They had traveled across the stars not knowing what to expect, but now they had a face to put to their mission. The Aetherians were real, they were suffering, and they needed help. "All hands," she called over the ship-wide comm. "Prepare for battle stations. We're about to enter Aetherian space." First contact and first blood. The human fleet dropped out of FTL on the outskirts of the Aetherian home system, immediately greeted by a scene of chaos. Vorax warships, massive and bristling with weapons, swarmed around a beautiful crystalline planet. Aetheria Prime. The Aetherian defenses, a network of orbital platforms, were barely holding against the onslaught. Battle stations. Sarah's voice rang out across the horizon's bridge. "All ships, form up. Defenders, take point. Artemis and Pathfinder, flank us. We're going in hot." As the human fleet moved into formation, the Vorax finally seemed to notice their arrival. A cluster of enemy ships broke off from the siege, turning to face the newcomers. "Captain," Commander Patel called out, "we're being hailed by the Vorax flagship." Sarah nodded grimly. On screen, the view screen flickered to life, revealing a being that looked like a cross between an insect and a reptile. Its exoskeleton gleamed with a metallic sheen, and its multifaceted eyes seemed to glow with an inner fire. "Unknown vessels." The Vorax commander's voice was a harsh, clicking sound. "You have entered a restricted war zone. Identify yourselves and withdraw immediately, or be destroyed." Sarah stood tall, her voice steady. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earth Ship Horizon. We are here in response to a distress call from the Aetherian people. We demand that you cease your hostilities and withdraw from this system immediately." The Vorax commander's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. "Humans? The Aetherians called upon primitives for aid. Your species is unknown to us, but your interference will not be tolerated. Leave now or share the Aetherians' fate." The transmission cut off abruptly. Sarah turned to her crew, her eyes blazing with determination. "Well, folks, I guess diplomacy is off the table. You heard the bug." Sarah's eyes narrowed as she surveyed the tactical display. "All right, people, this is it. Remember your training and trust in each other. We may be outgunned, but we got something they don't. The element of surprise. Let's show these Vorax what humanity is made of." She turned to her weapons officer. "Lieutenant Kim, prepare to fire a spread of our new quantum torpedoes. Target their lead ships. Let's see how they like a taste of Earth's finest." "Aye, Captain," Kim responded, her fingers dancing across the console. Quantum torpedoes armed and ready. Sarah took a deep breath. This was the moment that would define humanity's first major interstellar conflict. Fire. Brilliant streaks of blue-white energy erupted from the horizon and its sister ships, streaking across space towards the advancing Vorax fleet. The enemy ships, clearly not expecting such firepower from the primitive humans, were caught off guard. Several torpedoes found their marks, detonating in spectacular explosions that shattered Vorax hull plating and sent debris spinning into the void. For a moment, there was stunned silence on the horizon's bridge. Then a cheer went up as the crew realized the effectiveness of their attack. Direct hits on multiple targets. Kim reported, her voice filled with excitement. 2 Vorax destroyers heavily damaged. One appears to be breaking apart. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. "Good work, everyone. But don't get cocky. That was just the opening salvo. Helm, evasive maneuvers. They'll be retaliating any second now." As if on cue, the space around the human fleet lit up with energy weapons fire. The Vorax, recovering from their initial shock, were now bringing their superior firepower to bear. Shields holding at 82%. Commander Patel reported as the horizon shuddered under the assault. The defender is taking heavy fire on our starboard flank. Sarah's mind raced, analyzing the battlefield. The Voraks had numbers and firepower, but their formations were rigid, predictable. Helm, execute maneuver Theta 3. All ships, break formation and engage at will. Let's use our agility to our advantage. The human fleet split apart, each ship weaving through the Voraks formation with a nimbleness that seemed to confound the alien attackers. The UES Artemis, a converted science vessel, unleashed a barrage of electromagnetic pulses that scrambled Voraks targeting systems. The Pathfinder, true to its name, found gaps in the enemy's defenses and exploited them ruthlessly. As the battle raged on, Sarah noticed something on her tactical display. "Look at that," she murmured to Commander Pottle. "The Voraks fleet around Aetheria Prime is thinning out. They're pulling ships away to deal with us." Patel nodded, understanding dawning in his eyes. "We're relieving the pressure on the Aetherians, even if we can't break through to them yet." "Exactly," Sarah replied. "And that gives me an idea." She opened a channel to the entire fleet. "All ships, this is Captain Chen. Push forward towards Aetheria Prime. We're going to punch a hole through their line and make contact with the Aetherians." The human fleet surged forward as one, weathering the storm of Voraks firepower. Ships on both sides exploded in brilliant flashes. The void of space lit up like a macabre fireworks display. On the horizon's bridge, klaxons blared as systems strained under the assault. "Shields down to 40%, an officer called out. "Hull breaches on decks 4 through 7. Sarah gripped her command chair, her knuckles white. "Reroute emergency power to shields. Damage control teams to affected areas. We're almost there." As if in answer to her determination, a new voice crackled over the comms. Melodious, alien, and filled with hope. "Unknown vessels, this is Aetherian Defense Command. Your assistance is beyond our wildest hopes. How may we aid you?" Sarah's heart soared at the sound. "Aetherian Command, this is Captain Chen of Earth. We're here to help, but we need to coordinate our efforts. Can you patch us into your defense grid?" There was a moment of hesitation, then, "Understood, Captain Chen. Sending access codes now. Welcome to the fight." With access to the Aetherian defense systems, the tide of battle began to turn. Human ingenuity combined with Aetherian technology in ways the Voraks could never have anticipated. The crystalline defense platforms, guided by human tactical analysis, became devastatingly effective. Hours passed in a blur of tactical decisions, near misses, and hard-fought victories. Slowly but surely, the Voraks fleet was pushed back, their formations breaking under the combined might of human determination and Aetherian resilience. Finally, as the horizon's sensors detected Vorak ships beginning to retreat en masse, Sarah allowed herself to relax slightly. "Status report," she called out, her voice hoarse from hours of giving orders. Commander Patel, his uniform singed and his face streaked with sweat, managed a tired smile. "We've done it, Captain. The Voraks are in full retreat. Aetherian Command reports that their planet is secure, for now at least." A cheer went up around the bridge, quickly spreading throughout the ship and across the fleet. They had done the impossible, faced down a technologically superior force, and emerged victorious. As the adrenaline of battle faded, Sarah looked out at the view screen, taking in the sight of Aetheria Prime. The crystalline planet glittered like a jewel against the backdrop of space, its beauty unmarred even by the scars of recent conflict. "Open a channel to Aetherian Command," Sarah said, straightening her uniform. "It's time we introduced ourselves properly." As the connection was established, Sarah cleared her throat, suddenly aware of the weight of history on her shoulders. "Aetherian Command, this is Captain Sarah Chen of Earth. On behalf of humanity, I extend greetings of friendship and solidarity. We heard your call for help, and we answered. We stand ready to assist you further in any way we can." The response came quickly, the Aetherian voice filled with gratitude and wonder. "Captain Chen, Words cannot express our thanks. You and your people have saved us from annihilation. The Aetherians welcome you not just as allies, but as friends. Please, we invite you to send a delegation to our world. There is much we have to discuss. As Sarah acknowledged the invitation, she couldn't help but feel a sense of pride and accomplishment. Humanity had taken its first steps onto the galactic stage, and they had done so not through conquest or intimidation, but by extending a helping hand to those in need. The battle was won, but Sarah knew this was just the beginning. The Vorax would return, and Earth was now irrevocably involved in galactic affairs. But as she looked around at her tired but triumphant crew, she knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, humanity would face them head-on. "Helm," she said, a smile playing on her lips, "take us into orbit around Aetheria Prime. Let's go meet our new friends." The turning tide. In the weeks that followed the initial battle, Earth and Aetheria forged a bond unlike any other in the galaxy. As human ships maintained a defensive perimeter around Aetherian space, delegations from both worlds worked tirelessly to understand each other and prepare for the inevitable Vorax counterattack. On the surface of Aetheria Prime, Captain Sarah Chen stood in awe before the towering crystal spires of the Aetherian capital. Beside her, First Speaker Zilith's bioluminescent skin pulsed with warm, welcoming hues. "Your world is beautiful," Sarah breathed, taking in the alien yet somehow familiar landscape. "I can see why you fought so hard to protect it." Zilith's multifaceted eyes seemed to shimmer with emotion. "And now, thanks to you and your people, we still have a world to protect. Come, Captain. There is much to discuss." As they walked through the crystalline corridors of the Aetherian High Council chamber, Sarah couldn't help but notice the looks of wonder and gratitude from the Aetherians they passed. It was a stark reminder of the impact humanity's actions had made. Inside the chamber, a mixed group of humans and Aetherians huddled around holographic displays, deep in discussion. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, who had arrived with the second wave of human ships, waved Sarah over. "Captain, perfect timing," Elena said, her eyes bright with excitement. "We've made a breakthrough." Sarah raised an eyebrow. "Oh." Elena gestured to the hologram, which showed a complex series of equations and schematics. "The Aetherians have been sharing their technology with us, and we've been doing the same. It turns out there's a synergy between our approaches that neither side had considered before." An Aetherian scientist, his skin pulsing with excited blue patterns, chimed in. "Your human adaptability combined with our crystal-based technology has opened up possibilities we never dreamed of. We believe we can significantly enhance both our defensive and offensive capabilities." Sarah leaned in, studying the display. "That's fantastic news. But will it be enough? The Vorax will return, and they'll be prepared for us this time." Zilith stepped forward, her voice resolute. "Perhaps not alone, but together. I believe we stand a fighting chance." As if to punctuate Zilith's words, an alarm suddenly blared throughout the chamber. A young Aetherian rushed in, his skin flashing with urgent red pulses. "First Speaker, Captain Chen," he gasped. "Long-range sensors have detected a massive Vorax fleet entering the system. They'll be here within hours." The chamber erupted into a flurry of activity. Sarah turned to Zilith, her expression grim but determined. "Well, First Speaker, it looks like we'll be putting our new alliance to the test sooner than we thought." Zilith nodded, her own resolve evident. "Indeed, Captain. Let us show the Vorax and the galaxy what our peoples can achieve together." As they rushed to prepare for the coming battle, Sarah couldn't help but feel a mix of anxiety and exhilaration. This was the moment that would define not just the future of Earth and Aetheria, but potentially the entire galactic community. Back aboard the Horizon, Sarah addressed the combined human-Aetherian fleet. The view screen showed not just her own crew, but the crystalline bridges of Aetherian ships and the command centers of the hastily upgraded orbital defense platforms. "We all knew this moment would come," Sarah began, her voice steady and clear. "The Vorax are returning, and they're out for blood. But they're going to find a very different situation than the one they left. She paused, looking out at the faces, human and alien, all united in purpose. We've learned from each other, grown stronger together. We're no longer just two separate species fighting a common enemy. We are a united force, standing for something greater than ourselves. We fight not just for survival, but for a future where different races can come together, learn from one another, and build something beautiful. Sarah's eyes blazed with determination. The Voraks think they're coming to finish what they started. Let's show them they've only succeeded in creating something they can't hope to defeat. Together, we will turn the tide of this war. A cheer went up across the fleet, a strange but stirring mixture of human voices and Aetherian harmonic resonances. As the Voraks fleet dropped out of FTL, they were met not by a scattered, desperate defense, but by a coordinated, technologically advanced force. Human ships, now enhanced with Aetherian crystal tech, moved in perfect sync with their alien counterparts. The orbital defense platforms, upgraded with human targeting systems and predictive algorithms, came to life with deadly precision. The battle that ensued was like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. Voraks energy weapons met human Aetherian shield harmonics, dissipating harmlessly. Return fire from the Allied fleet struck with unerring accuracy, guided by a combination of human intuition and Aetherian sensory capabilities. On the Horizon's bridge, Sarah worked in seamless coordination with her crew and their Aetherian counterparts. Artemis, watch your flank. Aetherian cruiser Starfire, reinforce their position. Pathfinder, I need you to probe that weak spot in their formation. As the battle raged on, it became clear that the Voraks had underestimated their opponents. They had expected to find a demoralized, fractured resistance. Instead, they faced a united front that seemed to anticipate their every move. Hours passed, and slowly but surely, the tide began to turn. Vorak ships, once thought invincible, fell one by one to the combined might of human ingenuity and Aetherian technology. Finally, as the last Voraks dreadnought turned to flee, a stunned silence fell over the Allied fleet. They had done it. They had not just held off the Voraks, but decisively defeated them. As cheers erupted across the fleet, Sarah allowed herself a moment of relief. But she knew this victory, however significant, was just the beginning. Open a channel to the retreating Vorak ships, she ordered, her voice firm. When the connection was established, Sarah spoke clearly and confidently. Vorak's command, this is Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth Aetherian Alliance. You have witnessed today the power of our united peoples. We offer you this one chance. Leave this sector of space and never return. If you choose to continue this aggression, know that you will face not just the Aetherians, not just humanity, but a growing alliance of species dedicated to mutual defense and cooperation. There was a long pause before a response came. The Vorak's commander's voice, once arrogant and dismissive, now held a note of grudging respect. You fight well, humans and Aetherians. We will withdraw, for now. But know this, the Vorak's Imperium does not forget, and it does not forgive. This is not over. As the transmission cut off, and the last Vorak ships disappeared into FTL, Sarah turned to her crew and the Aetherian representatives on the bridge. No, she said softly. I don't suppose it is over, but whatever comes next, we'll face it together. The victory over the Voraks marked a turning point not just in the conflict, but in galactic history. Word spread quickly of how a fledgling spacefaring race had come to the aid of a peaceful species, defying the established galactic powers and defeating a superior force. As news of the human Aetherian Alliance's success reached other worlds, it sparked a change in the galactic community. Species that had long lived in fear of Vorak's expansion began to reach out, seeking to join this new coalition of mutual defense and cooperation. The tide had turned, not just in a single battle, but in the very fabric of galactic society. And at the heart of it all stood the unlikely friendship between humanity and the Aetherians, a beacon of hope for a brighter, more united future among the stars. Victory and aftermath. The months following the decisive victory over the Voracks saw a flurry of activity across the galaxy. The Human-Aetherian Alliance, once dismissed as a desperate last stand, had become the focal point of a galactic revolution. On Earth, the Aetherian embassy gleamed like a shard of living crystal amid the skyline of New York City. Inside, Captain Sarah Chen, now Admiral Chen, stood before a gathering of diplomats from a dozen different species. "Welcome, friends," Sarah began, her voice carrying the weight of recent history. "A year ago, humanity was unknown to most of you. The Aetherians were on the brink of annihilation, and the Voracks Imperium seemed unstoppable." She paused, looking out at the diverse gathering. Beings of all shapes, sizes, and compositions, united by a common purpose. "Today, we stand together not just as allies against a common threat, but as partners in building a new future for our galaxy. The Galactic Cooperative, which we are here to formally establish, represents a new way forward, one of mutual respect, shared knowledge, and collective defense." A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd. Sarah continued, her voice growing stronger. "We've learned so much from each other in these past months. Human adaptability combined with Aetherian crystal tech. Xintho, Ryan energy manipulation integrated with Drax's shield harmonics. Each of us bringing our unique strengths to create something greater than the sum of its parts." First speaker Zilith, standing beside Sarah, chimed in, her bioluminescent skin pulsing with warm, affirming patterns. "Indeed, Admiral Chen. What began as a cry for help has blossomed into a movement that is reshaping our galaxy. The Aetherians are honored to stand alongside humanity and all of you as we forge this new path." As the diplomats broke into discussion groups, Sarah found herself approached by a familiar face. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, now the head of Earth's Interstellar Scientific Cooperative. "Quite a change from a year ago, isn't it?" Elena said, a smile playing on her lips. Sarah nodded, taking in the scene around them. "Victory and aftermath." Sarah nodded, taking in the scene around them. "It's almost hard to believe. Sometimes I wake up thinking it was all a dream." Elena's expression turned serious. "It's not all smooth sailing, though. The Voracks are still out there, licking their wounds, and not everyone in the galaxy is thrilled about this new balance of power." "True," Sarah agreed, her brow furrowing slightly. "But that's why today's meeting is so important. We're stronger together than we ever were apart." Their conversation was interrupted by a commotion near the entrance. A delegation of beings neither had seen before was entering. Tall, ethereal creatures that seemed to shimmer with an inner light. Zilith glided over, her skin pulsing with excitement. "Admiral, Doctor, may I introduce the Luminae? They've traveled from the far reaches of the galaxy to join our alliance." The leader of the Luminae stepped forward, its voice a melodious whisper that somehow carried across the room. "We have watched from afar as your alliance has grown. Your actions have given hope to those who long thought the galaxy was beyond saving. We wish to add our knowledge and capabilities to your cause." Sarah bowed slightly, a gesture of respect she had learned from her time with various alien species. "We welcome you, Luminae. Your presence here is a testament to the power of unity and cooperation." As the diplomatic discussions continued, news arrived from the fringes of known space. The Voracks Imperium, once thought unassailable, was fracturing. Inspired by the Galactic Cooperative, subjugated species within the Imperium were rising up, demanding freedom and representation. In the following weeks, the newly formed Galactic Cooperative faced its first true test. A distress call came from a former Voracks colony, seeking protection as they declared independence. The decision to intervene was unanimous. Sarah found herself once again on the bridge of the horizon, now the flagship of a multi-species armada. As they dropped out of FTL near the embattled planet, she couldn't help but reflect on how far they had come. "All ships, this is Admiral Chen," she broadcast across the fleet. "Our mission here is clear: to protect those who cannot protect themselves, and to show the galaxy that the age of unchecked aggression is over. Let's make this quick and clean. The battle that followed was short but intense. The Vorax forces, already stretched thin by internal conflicts, were no match for the combined might and advanced technology of the cooperative fleet. Within hours, the Vorax had retreated, and the liberated planet was welcoming cooperative peacekeepers. As Sarah walked through the cheering crowds on the planet's surface, she was approached by a young alien child, its species one she didn't recognize. The child looked up at her with wide, grateful eyes and spoke in a halting universal translator voice. "Thank you for saving us. Will you teach us to be strong like you?" Sarah knelt down, meeting the child's gaze. "We'll do better than that," she said softly. "We'll teach you how to be part of something greater than yourself, how to stand with others, so that together we can all be strong." Months turned into years, and the Galactic Cooperative continued to grow and evolve. Earth, once a backwater planet unknown to the wider galaxy, became a hub of interstellar diplomacy and scientific exchange. The Aetherian homeworld, its crystal cities now gleaming beacons of hope, hosted the Cooperative's Central Council. The Vorax Imperium, while not entirely defeated, had been pushed back to a fraction of its former territory. More importantly, its ideology of conquest and subjugation had been thoroughly discredited in the eyes of the galactic community. 5 years to the day after the first human ships had answered the Aetherian distress call, a grand ceremony was held in orbit around Earth. Ships from hundreds of species gathered to commemorate the founding of the cooperative and to inaugurate its newest project, a massive space station that would serve as a neutral ground for all species to meet, trade, and learn from one another. As Sarah stood on the observation deck of the new station, watching ships of all shapes and sizes dock and depart, she felt a presence beside her. It was Zilith, her bioluminescence a calm, contented blue. "Did you ever imagine it would come to this?" Zilith asked, her multifaceted eyes taking in the spectacular view. Sarah shook her head, a small smile on her lips. "Never in my wildest dreams. When we first answered your call, I thought we were flying to our doom. Instead, we found a new beginning for all of us." Zilith's skin pulsed with agreement. The humans have a saying, do they not? "A friend in need is a friend indeed." Your species proved the truth of that many times over. "We all did," Sarah corrected gently. "Humans, Aetherians, and now so many others. We proved that we're stronger together than we ever were apart." As they stood there, watching the bustle of interstellar cooperation and friendship, both felt a profound sense of hope for the future. The galaxy, once a place of isolation and conflict, was transforming into a community of diverse species working together towards common goals. The Vorax threat still lurked in the shadows, and new challenges would undoubtedly arise. But Sarah knew that whatever the future held, they would face it as they had faced every challenge since that first distress call, together. As the station's artificial day cycle began to dim, simulating a beautiful Earth sunset, Sarah allowed herself a moment of reflection. From a species taking its first tentative steps into the galactic community, humanity had become a linchpin in a new era of cooperation and mutual understanding. The stars no longer seemed cold and distant, but full of possibility and new friendships waiting to be forged. And as Sarah looked out at the vast expanse of space, she knew that their greatest adventures were still to come.